All right. I think we're live. Hello. I have not done a live on YouTube for years. I think it's been several years since I've done a live. So I'm pretty excited and honestly a little nervous. I'll also tell you, I did not wake up this morning expecting to do a live on YouTube. This is totally unplanned, but there's a reason that I'm showing up right now live on YouTube. Something happened this morning, and I'm really curious if this is something that happens to you sometimes in English. So I thought I would share with you what happened this morning. We would talk a little bit about it. I've got my chat open, so I'll certainly watch the chat. It's just me here today. I don't have anybody on my team. My team doesn't even know that I'm doing this. So I have no one else here today to help me out in the chat. So as I said, I'll keep the chat open. I'll check it a few times, but I want to share with you what happened today. I want to see if this is something you've experienced in your life in English. And we'll talk a little bit about what to do if it does. So here's what happened. I went on a run this morning. I have a running route that I do most days. And do you know those moments when you're living your normal life? You're cooking, you're driving to work, you're watching your kids play soccer, or you're running, and then a memory comes to you. It's a really strong memory. And unfortunately, it's not a great memory. It's the kind of memory of something that was embarrassing. So the moment that you have that memory come to your mind, all those embarrassing feelings are there. You feel them again. It's like you're reliving that embarrassing moment. And I'm curious if you have any moments in English where sometimes you have those memories and you feel those uncomfortable moments again. I'm going to tell you about mine, and it may be a story. If you've followed me for a while, it may be a story that you're familiar with, but perhaps it's new to you. I will tell you the memory that I had this morning, where all those feelings came back, is from June 2014. So over 10 years ago. This is a memory from a long time ago, but still, when the memory comes to me, all the feelings come back and it's not very fun. So, back in June 2014, my husband and I had moved to France. And I was super excited about moving to France. This was a dream for us. We moved for his job. This was a huge dream. I spent years studying French to prepare, and I had this plan. I had a plan to wake up the first morning. I was going to walk to a bakery and order a baguette and then walk home and have my baguette at home with coffee and enjoy our first morning living in France. I was so excited. So the first morning came, I woke up, I walked to the bakery, I got in line, and as I got to that line, my heart started going super fast and my palms got really sweaty. I'm standing in line. My body starts feeling really weird. I'm hot and I'm cold at the same time. And my brain freezes. Everything, everything was gone. So I even now when I'm telling you this story, I feel that hot and cold, that really uncomfortable feeling. So I'm standing in line, all the words disappear, and I panicked. It Everything was gone. I couldn't speak. I got way too nervous. I was worried about making mistakes. I was worried about my accent. I didn't want anybody to laugh at me. I started to think about the people behind me in line and thinking, ooh, they're going to hear my French. I don't want them to hear me. I don't want anybody to hear me. And it was silly. I only needed a few words. It was super simple, right? Just buying some bread. I'm going to to tell you the words I needed in French, and I apologize for my strong American accent in French, but all I needed to say was, "Bonjour, je voudrais une baguette, s'il vous plaît," or "Je voudrais une tradition, s'il vous plaît." It was super basic, really simple, like 5 or 6 words. I couldn't do it. So I left. I got out of the line, I left, and I walked home. So I'm really curious. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more in a second, but I'm really curious if you've ever had a moment like that. Maybe for you, it's not a bakery. Maybe for you, it's wishing a meeting would get canceled in English or something like that. But I'm curious if you've had that experience. I know for me, when I left the bakery, when I got out of line, I was walking home and I felt so stupid, to be really honest with you. I don't like that word, but I just really felt stupid. I was an adult in my 30s, but I felt like a little girl who needed her dad to order bread. So I'm walking home. I kind of start crying, to be honest. That makes me more embarrassed because I know people can see me. I'm walking down the street. It looks like I'm crying. It was all a really terrible experience. So, as I said, I'm really curious. If you've ever had something like that, you can let me know in the chat, maybe leave a thumbs up or uh, all of those things. But please let me know. I'm not the only one to have these embarrassing moments in another language. As I said, for you, it might be hoping meetings in English get canceled so you don't have to talk to your colleagues in the UK or in the United States. Maybe for you, if you live in an apartment building, maybe you need to go to the grocery store. And before you open the door to go to the grocery store, you hear your neighbors in the hallway and you think, ooh, I'm going to wait. I'm going to hide inside my house and I'm going to wait until they leave so I don't have to talk to them. So, as I said, I'm really curious if you ever have those moments where you kind of hide or try to avoid speaking English because of these embarrassing moments. You can let me know in the chat. I'll watch there to see if anybody else has that feeling. But I want to talk about what made all of this super frustrating, and if you've had similar experiences in English, maybe you understand some of these experiences that I've had. What made this so frustrating is, well, 2 reasons actually. Number 1, it's not the only embarrassing moment I had in French. It's the first one, it's the first big one, the first one that really made me feel so embarrassed, but it's not the only one. I actually continued to live with that embarrassment for several weeks. I remember going to cafes and restaurants, and my husband would order for me because I was too embarrassed, too shy, too worried about my accent. I didn't want people to laugh at me, so I totally avoided speaking. And maybe you've been in a similar situation. Maybe for you, you've asked coworkers or friends or a spouse or a son or a daughter to speak for you. Super uncomfortable feelings. That didn't stay permanent for me. I definitely changed it, and I'll tell you how in a moment. But that was the first reason it was so embarrassing. Again, I had to have someone else speak for me. The second reason this was so frustrating is I had done all the right things. I did everything right. As I said, my husband and I moved to France for his job. We knew this would happen. So before we moved, I spent years studying French. I started learning French as an adult. I was in my 30s and I loved learning the language. I was so excited. I enjoyed studying. I bought all the grammar books, all the vocabulary books. I had group classes. I had one on one classes. I read newspapers in French. I watched movies in French. At that time, this is in 2010, things like Rosetta Stone were super popular. I remember using Rosetta Stone. Maybe maybe some of you remember Rosetta Stone. But I did all those things. I did all the right things. I even took a test for my French and I got a great score. So I was kind of thinking, "Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to move." And no, I wasn't ready to move. I couldn't order bread. The other thing on top of all of this is I'm also an English teacher. I've been teaching English since 1996. It's a pretty long time. And my master's degree is in how adults learn second languages. So I know how it's supposed to happen. I know what should happen when you're studying a language. I know how you should be able to speak a language. But it didn't happen that way for me. It didn't happen the way that I planned. So, one more thing. There's something else that I wanna think about with all this. So, as I said, it was frustrating because I had many embarrassing moments. It was frustrating because had done all the right things, and there's a temptation, I think, to believe that when you've done all the right things, but you still can't speak, that maybe you did something wrong or you wasted your time. And I don't think that that's true. I know for me, after those experiences, I was happy that I had studied a lot. I needed that grammar, I needed that vocabulary, I needed to understand the structures, I needed to build that foundation of knowledge in French. So maybe if you're in that same situation right now, maybe right now in English, it feels like you can understand everything. You can maybe watch this video right now and it's clear, it's easy to understand. You can listen to podcasts in English. You can even listen to other people have conversations. But the moment it's your turn to speak, it's like that same situation. Your body is hot and cold, your heart is pounding, all the words disappear. It's easy to start thinking that maybe you've wasted your time or you've done the wrong things. And I want you to know that that's not true. You need that foundation, you need that grammar knowledge. But here's the thing. I needed that foundation in French, you need it in English, but I needed a different way to start knowing how to speak French with real people in the moment. The moment that someone asked me a question, especially if it was unexpected, I needed a new way to practice speaking so that I was ready when other people were looking at me and waiting for me to answer. I needed another way to practice in those moments where I felt pressure because pressure made me more nervous. So I definitely needed a new way of practicing everything I knew, a new way of practicing the vocabulary, the grammar, etc. And maybe that's exactly where you are right now. Again, you've got that strong foundation. You've spent years studying and learning and watching videos and podcasts and doing all the things, but the words still disappear. So I want to talk a little bit more about that in a moment, but there's one more super important thing that I want to share with you because a lot of my students feel the same way that I have felt. So there's one more layer, I think is the word I want to use, one more layer that made all of that speaking in French more difficult. And I had to really think of new ways to practice. The thing that made it more difficult is I am super shy. I am super shy, which might surprise you because I'm live here on YouTube, but that's also what makes me nervous about being live on YouTube. I am super shy and I am very introverted. So, what that means is I love alone time. I need a lot of alone time. I need a lot of thinking time, especially when I'm speaking. I need time to think. I need time to organize my thoughts. I want to have everything clear here before I speak. I'm not a fast speaker. I'm not a fast thinker. I really need that time to prepare. I don't like to be put on the spot. That's a really good expression to know in English, to be put on the spot. It means that somebody asks you something unexpected and everyone's looking at you and you just feel like there's a spotlight on you. Everybody's looking, everybody's waiting. I hate those moments. And I see that someone said, no way, yes way, yes way. I am totally shy. If you knew, if you could, right, even right now, live on YouTube, my heart is just pounding like crazy. But this is how we change. We do things that challenge us. This is part of what helped me change my French and develop my confidence and fluency in French. But anyway, being shy is a big part of who I am. And when that embarrassing moment happened in in my French, I thought it was because I was shy. I thought the problem was me. I thought I needed to be more social. I needed to be louder. I needed to be faster. I needed to be ready and excited to talk to everybody. I needed to go talk to a lot of strangers, except that's not who I am. I'm not loud. I'm not fast. I'm not comfortable talking to a lot of random strangers and practicing my French. And I'm not, I don't know, I worry about mistakes. Those things are true. So I needed to figure out a way to learn English, or not learn English, learn French for myself in a way that accepted my shyness and accepted my introversion. And the moment I stopped blaming myself, the moment I see a couple, actually, let me pause here. I see a couple people saying shy here. So maybe I'm not the only one. I hope not. Maybe a couple of you are shy as well. So we're in the same club together. I totally get those feelings. And someone else said, yeah, shyness, social awkwardness. Yeah, that's definitely for sure. That's a thing. So all of that was true for me, that social awkwardness, that shyness. But I realized I couldn't change myself. Though that's part of who I am. That's my personality. And the moment I stopped blaming myself, the moment I stopped thinking I was wrong, I was able to ask better questions. I was able to stop and think, okay, everything I've learned, everything I've done has given me a foundation, but it hasn't taught me how to speak. All of the traditional language classrooms didn't help me learn to speak. Usually, the way that traditional classrooms teach speaking, it really caters to people who are more social, more extroverted. And so I needed to think about what will work for me. What are other ways that I can practice speaking that will help me develop true fluency, true confidence? What will help me learn and remember to use the words that I know? So I started to change the way that I was practicing my speaking. I needed to find ways to practice that would allow me to prepare, that would give me time to think and help me pause appropriately so that I could put my words together. I needed to find the real words I needed for everyday French conversations, and I needed opportunities to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat because for me, that was the key. I needed that repetition to get really comfortable with the language so that I would be ready to use it in those moments when I felt more nervous. I also needed, I think the most important thing that I needed was a way to practice where it felt safe. Practicing alone, yes, but also practicing with other people where it felt safe to do it, where I didn't have to worry so much about mistakes. I could speak in front of others. I could get comfortable using those words and learn how to be in real conversations. Those were the things that I needed to help me gain real confidence and real fluency in that language. So, again, I'm super curious. I'm going to check the chat here for a moment, but I'm really curious if any of you maybe have built that strong foundation. And maybe because of feeling super shy, maybe because of feeling really introverted, or maybe because there was a embarrassing experience in English before and now you've got all this anxiety. Maybe you need a different way to practice speaking so that you're able to overcome the shyness, able to overcome the anxiety. So, again, if that sounds like something that is true for you, let me know in the chat. I'll definitely be checking. But a couple other things. When I started to do this, when I found ways to practice that allowed me to prepare, when I found ways to build up my vocabulary knowledge with the real words that French people used and had opportunities to practice where I didn't feel so worried about mistakes, where I felt safe to practice with other people, that's when things started to change for me. That's when I could go to the bakery and it was no big deal. That's when I could go to restaurants and cafes by myself and it didn't matter. I could do all the things I needed in French. That's when I started to have bigger, more meaningful conversations with people. It's when I could finally start living the secret dream that I had for myself. My secret dream was to be cool in French. I just wanted to be cool in French. I just wanted people to talk to me in French. And yes, of course, they might know that I wasn't a native speaker. They could hear my accent, but it didn't matter. We could just have a conversation. It just flowed. It was easy. That was my dream. And that's what finally started to happen. Um, so I see that I just had a question. What did I do to go from being shy to being more social? So I'm not a super social person. Even now, I'm not a super social person. I am with my friends and my family members and the people that I'm close to. I'm super social with my students, the people who are kind of close to me. And I still feel nervous. Like right now, I'm still super nervous. But what allowed me to develop that confidence was getting that speaking practice again and again and again, being in a place. I had found a group that I could practice with where I felt like it was really safe. And I had a structure, I had a system that gave me the specific things that I needed to learn, and then I could practice what I was learning in that place where it was safe to do that. So those were the things for me that really made things change, and I was able to finally start speaking French the way that I wanted to. And I'll be honest with you, my French isn't perfect. I still have a strong accent. I still make mistakes, but I don't really care about them anymore because I know that I can express myself. I know that mistakes will happen. I make mistakes in English too, and it's okay. It no longer holds me back. And that's definitely what I love helping my students do. In fact, I will say, as all of these things were happening to me in my French experience, so as I started to practice in the right way, as I developed new strategies to practice, as I got more comfortable using the language, at the same time, I was teaching. Remember, I've been teaching English since 1996. I don't, that's a long time. And what I noticed is my students were experiencing the same anxieties in English. Many of my students had the same shyness, the same introversion. They had the same sort of embarrassing moments, the same difficulties, the same frustrations. So I was noticing the same patterns. They were naturally shy like I was. So I started to share the same strategies with them that I was using for myself in French. And this combination of my experience in French and the experiences that my students were having is exactly why I do what I do today. If you have been following me here on YouTube, you know that I created Speak Confident English. That's where I share all of my lessons. It's why I started doing videos on YouTube. It's why I created my Confident Women community. I wanted to create experiences and places where my students could have structure. They would have a path. They would know exactly what they need to learn and study. They would have the opportunity to practice in a place where it was safe to do that, where it was okay to make mistakes. No one would judge them. And they could get repeated practice so that they felt really comfortable and confident with the different vocabulary or grammar skills. That was my goal. It's why I do what I do. It's why I'm here right now. It's why when this memory happened today, this random experience this morning, when that happened, I thought, I wonder how many of my students have this same experience, these unexpected memories. And how many of you who watch my videos every week, how many of you have those same experiences? I'm really curious because it's frustrating to have those moments. And sometimes we might start believing that it's permanent. And that's maybe what I want you to know is that these things don't have to be permanent. In fact, what I love the most is that I see changes happening in my students all the time. Just recently, one of my students, one of the women in my Confident Women community, she shared with me that before joining the Confident Women community, she said that I used to be shy and quiet, but now I'm not embarrassed when I speak. Now I enjoy conversations in English. Can you imagine that right now? Enjoying conversations in English? That's what I love the most. That comment of enjoying conversations in English. For me, that's the most powerful thing. So I'm going to finish this up. This is a little bit longer. I was going to just do this for like 5 minutes, but here we are. Uh, I want to go back to the story that I shared with you. So I have that embarrassing moment in the bakery. And I shared that story with you not because I think that you've had the same experience in English. I know for you it might be very different, but what I want you to know is that I understand those moments of disappointment, of embarrassment, of frustration. I know those moments of when the conversation ends, you think back and you think, why didn't I say this? Why didn't I use that other word? And there's a lot of regret in those moments. So I've certainly felt all those things, but it doesn't have to stay that way. So if you've been listening to this today, well, first of all, thank you. Second of all, I want you to know that you've not wasted your time. All of the work that you've put into your English, it's for a reason. It's building that foundation. You need to have vocabulary, you need to have grammar, you need to understand the structures of a language. That knowledge is necessary. So you haven't wasted your time. You might need a new way to practice your speaking. You might need to make some adjustments. And if you are naturally shy, if you are introverted like I am, it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. The problem isn't your personality, and you don't have to change. You don't have to be somebody different. You don't have to be someone who's loud or someone who's super fast or someone who's a social butterfly. You don't need to do those things. You just need to find the new ways of practicing that work for you, work for your personality, work with the way that you think and the way that you communicate. And those methods exist. They exist for all of us. And I know that again because it's worked for me and it works for my students all the time. So I'm going to end this with asking you if any of this is similar to what your experience has been in English, let me know in the chat. Just drop a note. Let me know. Say, Anne Marie, I feel the same way in English. I would love to hear your story. I do read comments in the chat. If you watch this when the live is over, leave a comment. I would love to hear what your experience in English has been. And certainly, if you want to learn more about things like my Confident Women community, I'll give you a way to do that. When this is over, I'll leave a link in the description. The Confident Women community is a fantastic place to get that kind of structure and plan and practice where it's safe. But mostly, I just want you to know that if you've been in this experience in English, you're not alone. I've been there too. It's why I'm here. It's why I do what I do. And I absolutely want to help you get to that other side where you're able to speak and have conversations in English that you enjoy, that make you feel happy and excited. I want you to have conversations that you would say, wow, that was actually really fun. Isn't that amazing to think about? To have a conversation in English and think, wow, that was really fun. I want to help you do that. So thank you for joining me today in this very unplanned, very unexpected live. I truly hope that you'll take a moment to share a comment with me below. Thank you for joining me. And I might just do this again. This was very unexpected, but very fun. And hopefully I'll see you in a future live or in my next lesson. Thanks, everybody.